A man is walking home after dark. The village road is one he knows well. By daylight, it is only a path between fields. At night, it feels like something else. The mountain presses close. The air is wet. The house lights are behind him now, and ahead there is only the shape of the road, the sound of his own breath, and a laugh coming from the dark. Something steps into his way. It is not clear what it is. A man maybe, a spirit maybe, a shape too large for the path. It laughs again, rough and close, and will not let him pass. The man tries to move around it. The thing moves with it. Finally, it grabs him, so he grabs it back. They wrestle in the mud. Hands slip. Feet dig into the road. A man is terrified, but fear is already too late. The thing is strong. The thing is foolish. The thing is laughing, as if the whole night has become a game. By morning, the road is quiet. There is no elegant immortal, no palace of glass, no falling snow, no sword in a warrior's chest. There is only an old broken broom, or a worn tool, lying where the struggle happened, as if the creature in the dark had been hiding inside ordinary things all along. That is one older image of the Dokkaebi. Then, centuries later, television gave the world another image. In the drama Guardian, the lonely and great god, known internationally as Goblin, the Dokkaebi is a lonely immortal in a long coat. He is beautiful, wounded, wealthy, and impossible to kill. He carries a sword in his chest. He can open doors between places, summon gold, stop time, and protect a girl who should have died. He also shares a house with a grim reaper. For many viewers outside Korea, Shin was their first meeting with the word Dokkaebi, and that meeting was unforgettable. But it was also strange, because the old Dokkaebi of Korean folklore was usually not a tragic romantic hero. It was rougher, stranger, more local, and often much less noble. A Dokkaebi might reward you, it might mock you, it might wrestle you on a night road, it might make you rich and then teach you why greed is dangerous. It might not even begin as a person at all, but as an old object that has absorbed too much human life to remain empty. The English word goblin is short, that is why it is useful. It is also too small. Tonight, we are going to walk backward from the drama into the older stories. We will meet the broom in the road, the club that makes wealth, the neighbor who wants a miracle without humility, the messenger of death with your name, and the modern drama that turned all of this into romance. This is not the true story of Shin. Shin is fiction. This is the Korean folklore behind Goblin and the modern fantasy that grew from it. The first trap is translation. When Korean dramas travel overseas, Dokkaebi often becomes Goblin. It is easy to see why. English needs a quick label, and Goblin is familiar. But familiar words bring their own pictures with them. For many English speakers, a goblin is small, green, greedy, ugly, and comic. In fantasy games, it is something you defeat early. In European folktales, it may live underground, hoard treasure, steal children, or creep around houses at night. Some of that overlaps with Dokkaebi, much of it does not. A Korean Dokkaebi is not one fixed creature in every source. It changes by region, period, and story. Sometimes it is comic, sometimes frightening, sometimes generous, sometimes cruel. Sometimes it looks like a large hairy man or a strange giant. Sometimes it is hardly seen at all, known only by a voice, a flame, a laugh, a sound, or the impossible thing it leaves behind. That is why the word oni can also mislead. Oni in Japanese tradition are often imagined as horned demons or ogres, tied to punishment, hell, violence, and Buddhist demon imagery. Dokkaebi can be frightening, but many Korean stories treat them as pranksters and testers. They may punish greed, they may reward cleverness, they may challenge someone to wrestle. They may appear foolish and dangerous at the same time. Dokkaebi are also not simply Shin or ghosts. A ghost is usually the spirit of a dead person, often held by grief, injustice, or unfinished business. A Dokkaebi is not usually that. Many explanations connect Dokkaebi with things that were never human. Old household objects, tools, brooms, mortars, pestles, or objects stained by use, danger, or blood. That is the important turn. The older Dokkaebi is not just a monster outside the house. It can be the house turning strange. It can be the tool that worked for you suddenly working against you. It can be the thing in the corner that has watched too much human life. That is why Shin is such a fascinating modern reinvention. The drama gives us a man who remembers centuries. Folklore gives us things that remember humans. And once you understand that, the old stories begin to feel less like monster tales and more like a question. What if the objects around us are not as empty as we think? Imagine an older Korean night. Not the bright modern night of Seoul, but a village night. The fields are dark. The mountain is darker. A dog barks once and then stops. Inside a thatched house, a family sleeps. In the corner are the things that made the day possible. A broom, a straw rope, a wooden mortar, a pestle, a worn mat, a cracked bowl, a tool that has been used so long no one remembers who first made it. In daylight, these things are humble. At night, they become less certain. This is one emotional source behind many Dokkaebi stories. The imagined world of the old village was crowded with presence. Mountains had spirits, trees could be sacred. Household gods guarded rooms, thresholds, kitchens, jars, and childbirth. Ancestors watched from ritual tables. The dead might return if neglected. The boundary between person, object, and spirit was not as hard as the modern mind wants it to be. A Dokkaebi story could emerge from that crowded world. Some explanations describe Dokkaebi as spirits associated with old objects, especially objects stained by human blood or shaped by repeated human use. That detail should be handled carefully. It does not mean every Dokkaebi tale begins with violence. It means that human vitality, danger, labor, impurity, and memory can cling to things. A road where people have died feels different. A tree where people have prayed feels different. A tool used by generations of hands feels different. A house where grief has stayed too long feels different. Dokkaebi stories live in that difference. This makes them unsettling in a special way. A ghost story frightens us because the dead return. A Dokkaebi story frightens us because the ordinary refuses to remain ordinary. The broom in the corner is not just a broom. The old pestle is not just a pestle. The darkness under the eaves is not empty. This is where Goblin, even while inventing freely, touches something older. Shin is bound to a sword. The sword is not a traditional Dokkaebi origin story. It is a modern fantasy device. But it works emotionally because it gives an object memory. The sword remembers betrayal. It remembers blood. It remembers the moment a man should have died and the punishment that kept him from dying. The drama makes the object beautiful and tragic. The old folklore makes it rough, practical, and close to the floor. But both ask the same quiet question. What is matter remembers us? And as matter remembers us, what else might wake up after dark? The strangest thing about the Dokkaebi is not only that it frightens people, sometimes it makes them rich. One of the most famous objects connected to the Dokkaebi is the Dokkaebi Bongmongi, the Dokkaebi Club. In later retellings and children's versions, it can seem almost cute. Tap it, shake it, command it, and treasure appears. Rice, gold, silver, silk, food, whatever the story needs. But folk stories rarely give wealth without testing the person who receives it. One well-known tale is often called the Dokkaebi's Club. It appears in many versions, so the details change, but the broad shape is familiar. A poor man is out near a lonely place at night. In some versions, he hides in an abandoned house. In others, he is near a tree, or somewhere ordinary people should not linger after sunset. He hears voices first, then laughter, then singing. The Dokkaebi are gathering. They feast as if the night belongs to them. They are noisy, strange, and full of power. In the middle of their gathering is a club, and the club is not just a weapon. It is desire made solid. When the Dokkaebi strike it, food appears, treasure appears. A poor man's impossible wish becomes something he can touch. He watches, terrified and hungry. The story may not say this directly, but the feeling is there. Poverty is not poetic. Poverty is cold rooms, thin meals, debt, shame, and the sound of other people eating well. Through luck, cleverness, or a kindness that some versions want us to notice, the poor man receives the club. He brings it home. The house that once had almost nothing fills with rice, cloth, coins, and relief. For a moment, the world has been corrected. Then the neighbor hears. This is where the story sharpens its teeth. The neighbor does not want wonder, he wants the result. He does not want to meet the night with humility. He wants to copy the first man's miracle like a recipe. So he goes to the same place. He repeats the same actions. He waits for the same reward. But the Dokkaebi are not machines. The story treats them as if they know the difference between need and greed. Instead of giving him wealth, they punish him. In some versions, they beat him. In others, they give him a lump on his face, or remove one man's lump and attach it to another. The exact punishment changes. The moral does not. The club is not a wish machine, it is a test. This is why Dokkaebi stories are so useful for storytelling. They are not only scary, they are agents of reversal. The poor can become rich, the proud can become ridiculous, the powerless can stumble into supernatural advantage. The greedy can be humiliated by the very trick they tried to steal. And now Goblin starts to look different. Shin's wealth is not the same as the Dokkaebi club. The drama is not adapting that folktale directly, but the association makes sense. Dokkaebi can stand near sudden wealth, strange luck, and treasure that arrives outside normal order. In the drama, Shin has impossible wealth, but it does not save him. Gold appears easily, doors open, time bends, but none of it can solve loneliness. A Dokkaebi club can fill a room with treasure. It cannot make a person wise enough to use it. It cannot make greed harmless. It cannot make an immortal happy. The old stories seem to know this. That may be why the Dokkaebi laughs. There is another kind of Dokkaebi story, and it begins with a mistake. Someone walks too late. A man drinks too much, works too long, or takes a mountain path after sunset. The road is familiar by day, but at night it has changed. A figure appears, large, rough, laughing, blocking the way. Sometimes the Dokkaebi challenges him to wrestle. That detail is strange and very human. The encounter with the supernatural is not a vision or a prophecy, it is physical. Hands grip cloth, feet slide in mud, breath catches. The man fights a being he cannot fully understand. He may win by courage, he may win by luck. He may win because the Dokkaebi has some weakness. In the morning, the traces remain. A broken broom, an old tool, a strange mark, a place in the road that now looks ordinary again. The joke is funny. It is also unsettling. The man thought he fought a creature. Morning says he may have fought an object. The story does not always ask whether the Dokkaebi was real. It asks what kind of reality a village can hold after sunset. These stories can also be read as social warnings. Do not be arrogant. Do not wander carelessly at night. Do not assume daylight rules still apply after dark. Do not mock the world just because you understand part of it. But the Dokkaebi is not only a punisher, it is too playful for that. It pushes, shoves, laughs, bargains, rewards, tests, and sometimes makes humans look ridiculous. It is frightening, but rarely only frightening. Comic, but not harmless. Generous, but not gentle in the way humans want kindness to work. That inconsistency is part of the point. Folklore does not build one clean encyclopedia creature. It keeps many memories alive at once. One village's Dokkaebi may bring fish, another may bring disease, One tale's Dokkaebi may reward the poor, another may beat a traveler half to death. One may come from an old broom, another may be a nameless power in the mountain. The drama Goblin gave global viewers one beautiful fictional Dokkaebi. Korean folklore kept a crowd of them, some laughing, some hungry, some generous, some waiting on the road after dark. But Goblin did not stop with the Dokkaebi. It placed him beside another figure, one who does not laugh on the road, a man in black, a messenger with a name. Picture a table. On one side sits a person who has just died. On the other side sits a man in black. He is calm. He is not a skeleton. He does not swing a scythe. He does not need to shout. He has a name. Maybe it is written on a card. Maybe it is in a ledger. Maybe the moment was decided before the person understood it had arrived. On the table is tea. In Goblin, this image became one of the drama's most memorable inventions, the Grim Reaper serving tea to the dead so they can forget the sorrows of one life before moving toward the next. That exact tea should not be treated as a simple item from all Korean folk tradition. It is a drama device, but it works because it sits near older ideas that already feel powerful. The Korean Jeoseung Saja is the messenger of the other world. Jeoseung means the world after death. Saja means messenger or envoy. In many modern summaries and folk belief explanations, the Jeoseung Saja is not a random monster, but an official messenger connected to an ordered afterlife. This is one reason the Korean Grim Reaper feels different from the European image. The Western Reaper often appears as a skeletal figure carrying a scythe. The Korean Reaper is often depicted as a human-like official in dark clothing, sometimes in black hanbok and a traditional hat. He is frightening because he is official. He may have your name. He may know the time. He does not need to hate you to take you. In Korean folklore and Buddhist-influenced afterlife stories, death can be imagined through administration, ledgers, warrants, judges, underworld kings, records of karma, and roads to the next place. The terror is not chaos. The terror is order. Goblin softens that figure. It gives him awkwardness, romance, guilt, comedy, and the possibility of redemption. But it also keeps the cold beauty of the idea. Death is not only a monster. Death is an appointment. Then, the drama adds memory. If the dead drink the tea and forget, what is mercy? If they remember, what is punishment? If rebirth is possible, should a soul carry love forward? Should it carry guilt? Should it be allowed to start again clean? Or must the past return until the debt is paid? This is where reincarnation becomes more than a plot device. Goblin is not simply asking whether two people can love each other now. It is asking whether a life can echo after it ends, whether sin can follow a person into another birth, whether a face can feel familiar before memory explains why. The Reaper is the clearest wound in that question. He guides the dead, but he does not remember the life that made him what he is. Forgetting protects him from pain, but it also traps him in ignorance. When the past returns, it does not return as nostalgia. It returns as debt. That is why Goblin can feel rooted in Korean supernatural imagination, even while inventing freely. It places afterlife motifs, Buddhist-influenced ideas of rebirth, and modern fantasy inventions inside a romance about memory. The Dokkaebi remembers too much. The Reaper remembers too little. The living girl stands between death and life. Everyone wants love to be stronger than time. But in this world, love may cross time without escaping consequence. So, what did Goblin actually do with the old material? It did not simply copy folklore. It reshaped it for television. A traditional Dokkaebi who wrestles travelers, emerges from old brooms, and punishes greedy villagers is wonderful folklore, but not automatically a romantic lead. To build Shin, the drama selected a few associations and transformed almost everything visible. It kept the sense that a Dokkaebi is not an ordinary human being. It kept a connection to impossible wealth. It echoed the idea that objects can hold fate. It kept the feeling that the world is full of doors humans do not usually see. Then it changed the body. The Village Trickster Association became a tragic immortal. Old tool motifs were echoed by a sword. The rough night road became cinematic snow. The unpredictable folk being became a romantic hero with a moral wound. And then the drama made one brilliant emotional move. It made power feel useless. Shin can do impossible things. He can live for centuries. He can cross space. He can summon wealth. He can protect the living from death, at least for a while. But none of that frees him from memory. None of it gives him the one ordinary human mercy he lacks: unending. That is why the adaptation works, even when it is not faithful in a narrow sense. It takes the old idea of a being who is not human, who moves through the human world with dangerous power, and asks a modern question. What if the supernatural being is tired? What if immortality is not a blessing, but grief stretched beyond the human scale? The same move happens with the Reaper. Older afterlife beliefs were not built for television romance. The Jeoseung Saja was not usually a shy roommate with perfect comic timing. But the drama takes the official messenger of death and asks, what if even death's messenger has a forgotten life? What if the one who escorts souls is also waiting to understand his own? That is the bridge between folklore and K-drama. Folklore gives the drama old pressure: objects, names, roads, messengers, debts, returns. Television gives those pressures faces: a man with a sword in his chest, a man in black holding tea, a girl who should have died but did not. This is one way folklore survives in a modern city, not by remaining untouched, but by finding new bodies to inhabit. Once it was a broom in the corner. Then it was a club in a folktale. Now it is a man in a black coat, walking through falling snow. The danger is that viewers may mistake the drama for the folklore. It is not, but the greater mistake would be thinking the drama has no connection to the old stories at all. It has a connection, not a straight line, more like an echo. And echoes are exactly what this story is about. So what is a Dokkaebi? After all of this, the honest answer is still not simple. A Dokkaebi is a trickster, a spirit, a village memory, a force in an old object, a bringer of wealth, a punisher of greed, a wrestler in the dark, a laugh from the roadside, a magical club, a warning not to mistake luck for virtue. And now, for millions of people around the world, it is also a lonely immortal from a Korean drama. That is not necessarily a failure of folklore. It is one thing folklore often does. It gathers new meanings without completely losing the old ones. In modern popular culture, the word Dokkaebi has become large enough to hold a broom, a club, a monster, a joke, a powerful spirit, a wealthy man, a tragic soldier, and a television romance. But if we want to understand the older stories inside the word, we have to look past the beautiful coat. We have to return to the village after dark, to the old objects in the corner, to the road where a man thinks he is wrestling a creature and wakes to find a broken tool, to the poor man who receives treasure and the greedy neighbor who receives punishment, to the belief that the world is full of presences and that human life leaves traces even on the things we touch every day. We also have to remember the Reaper in black, not because he is the same as the Dokkaebi, but because Goblin brought them together for a reason. Korean supernatural stories often include officials, roads, debts, names, judgments, and returns. Rebirth is possible in Buddhist-influenced frames, and modern dramas often use that possibility for romance and consequence. This is part of the deeper world that modern K-drama borrows from. Not one clean mythology, not one official rulebook, a layered imagination. Village life, shamanic practice, Buddhist judgment, Confucian ideas of order and family, local storytelling, and the old human feeling that the visible world is never all there is. That may be why Goblin worked. Not because it was accurate in every detail. It was not trying to be, but because it understood something powerful in many Korean stories. The past does not stay neatly past. The dead do not always feel entirely gone. Objects are not always empty. Love may cross time, but time will still ask to be paid. The next time someone translates Dokkaebi as goblin, you will know why the word is too small. A goblin is a creature. A Dokkaebi is a door. Open it, and behind it you find older Korean stories. Comic, frightening, tender, and strange. Stories where a broom can become a spirit, a club can make gold, a reaper can bring tea in a modern drama, and an immortal can spend 900 years learning that memory is both punishment and proof that he once loved. The old Dokkaebi is still there, not only in dramas, not only in folktales, but in the feeling that some things, once touched by human life, never become empty again.